Was Hamilton's sanction in Mexico really fair? Or are we facing yet another case of covert favoritism in Formula One? The controversy that shook Scuderia Ferrari could have much bigger consequences than many imagine. The sequence began in turn 1, when Verstappen attempted a very aggressive pass on the inside. In his attempt to overtake Hamilton, the Dutchman braked late, went slightly overboard and caused subtle but enough contact to force Lewis to open his line. Max, instead of following the track layout, cut across the grass area between turns 2 and 3, rejoining ahead of Hamilton without returning position. This detail is critical since he did not receive any sanction for it. Just a few meters later, Hamilton sought to recover the position when braking into turn 4. He did so on the outside in a maneuver that demanded absolute precision. However, a small miscalculation at the braking point caused his right front tire to lock violently. This forced him to go straight, completely leaving the track. Instead of following the narrow escape route marked by a yellow line, which was marked as the mandatory path to return to the track safely, Lewis opted to cross the grass and rejoin directly at the exit of turn 5, just in front of Verstappen. The most shocking thing about this incident is that upon his reinstatement, Lewis was ahead of Verstappen, but he was also momentarily overtaken by Oliver Bearman, the young Haas driver who took advantage of the chaos to position himself ahead of both. This, according to many analysts, contradicts the idea that Hamilton has gained a durable advantage. In any case, the chaos of the moment had completely disorganized the positions, and Hamilton's maneuver seemed more like a survival reaction than a deliberate search for profit. What followed was a review by the race stewards that completely divided the paddock. While some defended the decision under the argument of the technical regulations, others directly pointed to unequal treatment compared to what happened with Verstappen just seconds before. This double standard would be the axis of the entire debate that would continue to develop during and after the race. The emotional blow to Hamilton was immediate. From the team radio, his tone changed. The trust he had built over the weekend was crumbling, replaced by a mixture of disbelief, helplessness, and frustration. What should have been his big day with Ferrari was transformed, in real time, into a nightmare with hints of sporting injustice. Tension erupted in the paddock just a few minutes after the race direction officially confirmed the 10-second penalty to Lewis Hamilton. On the Ferrari wall, the faces said it all. Confusion, frustration, and a clear feeling of helplessness in the face of a decision that, once again, seemed to go against the Briton. The Scuderia pit wall, which had been controlling the race pace with millimeter precision, fell into silence, while Riccardo Adami, Hamilton's race engineer, broadcast the news over the radio. On the other hand, Lewis's response was immediate, dry, loaded with disbelief. He asked in a sharp voice, "Why weren't others punished for the same thing?" It was more than a tactical question. It was a direct blow to the heart of the FIA's authority. The echo of that phrase spread throughout the paddock. Ferrari engineers began reviewing telemetry data and video replays, trying to understand the logic behind the decision. In a matter of minutes, the team's hospitality screens showed the same sequence over and over again. Verstappen's off-track pass in turn 2 without a penalty, and seconds later, Hamilton's maneuver in turn 4 that ended up costing him 10 seconds. Comparisons were inevitable, and what should have been a simple disciplinary note became a heated debate between teams, analysts, and former drivers. On the international broadcast, the commentators could not hide their bewilderment. Some defended the sanction based on the written rule, gain lasting advantage, but others vehemently pointed out that the regulation should be applied consistently, not expediently. Several former drivers who today work as analysts agreed on one point. If the FIA did not sanction Verstappen for his maneuver in turns 2 and 3, applying a penalty to Hamilton for an almost identical situation was a sign of double standards. In the pits, even members of other teams quietly expressed their surprise, aware that the same action with another name and another color of car might have had a different outcome. Hamilton, when getting out of the car at the end of the race, did not hide his frustration. The cameras captured him walking with a serious expression, without greeting anyone, with his gaze fixed on the ground. In the mixed zone, in front of the microphones, his tone was calm that had contained anger. His words were measured, but the message was clear and devastating. "I am disappointed. Not with the team but with the system. There is no consistency. They are double standards and everyone can see it." The phrase went viral in a matter of minutes, replicated by media around the world, becoming an immediate headline and a symbol of collective indignation. Inside the Ferrari box, the conversation was tense. Frédéric Vasseur, the team boss, kept a low profile in front of the media, but behind closed doors he expressed his discontent. According to reports, he requested a formal meeting with the commissioners to review the decision, not with the intention of reversing it since the sanction was final, but to understand the criteria that had guided the investigation. "We want clarity for the future," was their official position, although the general feeling in Maranello was that clarity was conspicuous by its absence. The phrase double standard is not new in the Formula One lexicon. However, what happened at the 2025 Mexican Grand Prix raised that expression to a new level of controversy, not only because of the context in which it occurred, but because of the protagonists involved and the way in which the sanction was managed by the FIA. The decision to penalize Lewis Hamilton with 10 seconds for rejoining the track off the track, without returning position, unleashed a wave of questions not only towards the technical criteria used, but also towards the institutional integrity of the highest governing body of motorsport. The root of the conflict is in the direct comparison with Max Verstappen's actions during the same race sequence. The Red Bull driver, after an overtaking attempt in Turn 1, went off the track, cut across the grass between turns 2 and 3 and returned to the track in front of Hamilton. Did not return position. It was not investigated. He did not receive a penalty. This difference in treatment generated a deep fracture in public perception of the impartiality of the FIA. The key to the debate lies in what the regulations call gain of lasting advantage. In theory, any driver who leaves the track limits and regains positions or retains one he would have otherwise lost should be penalized if he does not return that advantage immediately. But the problem is not in the wording of the rule, but in its selective application. Because while Verstappen also abandoned the track limits and emerged in a more favorable position, the FIA determined that there was no reason to investigate. In contrast, when Hamilton did the same, he was penalized with the harshest standard penalty that can be imposed without going through stewards: 10 seconds. The stewards argued that Verstappen acted on the first lap, a period where the initial chaos and dense traffic justify greater tolerance in the maneuvers. This clause has been around for years and is usually applied to prevent minor incidents in the opening corners of the GP from generating unnecessary penalties. However, in this specific case, Verstappen's maneuver did not occur on the first lap, but on the sixth, with the race already stabilized, the traffic diluted and the hierarchical order of positions defined. The argument, therefore, lacked legal force and sporting logic. Furthermore, if the situation had been reversed, and it had been Hamilton who cut the track and emerged ahead without a penalty, would the FIA have made the same decision? For many in the paddock, the answer was clear: no. The recent history of sanctions, appeals and controversial decisions in which Hamilton has been involved suggests that the yardstick by which his performance is measured is, at the very least, different. The 10-second penalty on Lewis Hamilton not only meant a direct loss of positions in the 2025 Mexican Grand Prix, it was a high-impact strategic injury for Ferrari at a critical moment in the championship. Unlike previous years where the Italian team oscillated between optimism and operational collapse, the 2025 season had started with a renewed focus, a more solid technical structure and a clear ambition to fight for the title of both drivers and constructors. However, the decision of the commissioners in Mexico was a serious blow on several fronts. The 2025 Mexican Grand Prix became a hinge in the narrative of the season, not because of the victory on the track or because of the dominant performance of a team, but because of a regulatory decision that exposed a deep crack in the structure of the sport. The sanction against Lewis Hamilton has reopened a debate that Formula One has been dragging on for more than a decade. Is the penalty system really fair and transparent? Or are we facing a model in which decisions depend more on the political context, the profile of the pilot and the media circumstances than on concrete facts? The Hamilton-Ferrari case at the Mexican GP will go down in history as another example of the power of a single decision to transform a race, alter a narrative and impact an entire championship. But it can also become an opportunity. If the sport's actors, drivers, teams, regulators and promoters are able to use this moment to demand greater clarity, transparency and coherence, then perhaps this episode, however bitter it may have been for Ferrari and Hamilton, will serve as a turning point in building a fairer Formula One. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.